Hello everybody, my name is Victor Bravo and I'm with Lithia Subaru of Fresno. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video on how to build rapport. Now, if you're brand new to car sales and you're confused or you're having a hard time with building relationships, connecting with people, building rapport, so let's start from the beginning. A lot of people don't even know what rapport is. When I ask sales managers or other salespeople, and I ask them, what is the definition of rapport? What does rapport mean to you? Usually I'll get a response like, oh, well, that's building a relationship. Okay. What is the definition of rapport to you? Oh, you got to get in bed with your customer. Okay. What is the definition of rapport to you? You got to find some common ground. Okay. Well, what is the definition of rapport to you? You got to make a connection. Let's pause that for a second. What is the definition of rapport? So it's the feeling of being understood. Here, check this out. A relationship characterized by agreement, mutual understanding, or empathy that makes communication possible and easy. A good understanding of someone and an ability to communicate well with them. Rapport is a good sense of understanding and trust. A close and harmonious relationship in which the people or groups concerned understand each other's feelings or ideas and communicate well. So I know you're probably thinking, Victor, how do I communicate with my customers that I understand them? Or how do I build this rapport that you're talking about? And to start with, the first tip that I want to give you is just know that your customers have two big fears before they come onto your lot. They're not there for their health. They're not there because it's fun to look at cars in the summertime or the wintertime. They're there because they need a car. And they have two fears. The first fear is the fear of being taken advantage of. Your customers do not want to spend more money than they need to. They don't want to be ripped off, and they just want a fair price, and they want transparency. Now, the second fear that they have is the fear of their time being wasted. The national average right now it takes for people to buy a car in America is 6 hours. That is ridiculous and that is crazy. And that is one of the reasons why I make videos of my cars. So when I get referrals or people reach out to me on social media, I send them my videos of the walkarounds before they get to the store so they can watch them at their own time. And then what that does is it allows them to get to know me for who I am, the way I talk, the way I present things. So they have an idea that when they come here, they're not going to get taken advantage of. They know I'm not a mean person. I'm not that hardcore closer type person. So if you're right now new in the car business and it's taking you 6 hours to sell a car, you need to shave that down. You need to get rid of the 12 or the 15 or the 16 steps that the old school sales trainers give you, and check out some of the other videos that I've made on the steps to selling a car. It shouldn't take no more than 2.5 hours to sell a car. From meet and greet to close, and they're driving off busting bugs. So they don't want their time wasted. Time is valuable, time is life, time is everything. Time is more important than money, than anything that's out there. And they don't want it wasted. So don't waste your customers' time. And that will be your first step to building rapport. At some point during the needs assessment, I want you to say this line. 95% of my customers that come to my store, all they really want to do is find a car that fits all of their wants and needs. They want to drive it, and then they want to get some numbers so they have something to think about. Does that kind of sound like what you had in mind? Yeah. Okay, great. When you ask your customers that, when you tell your customers, 95% of my customers that come to my store, all they really want to do is find a car that fits all of their wants and needs. They want to drive it, and then they want to get some numbers so that way they have something to think about. There's a few things with that. So the first thing is you're letting them know that a majority of people that come to your store, all they want to do is find a car that fits their wants and needs. Does your customer want to find a car that fits all their wants and needs? Yes, they do. Do they want to drive the car to make sure that they like the way it handles, performs, and feels? Yes, they do. And do they want to get some numbers so that way they have something to think about? Yes, they do. So by using that line, what you've done is essentially committed them to every important step of the sale, all with their best interest at heart. And that is building rapport for your customer. Next, I want to talk about the 5 senses and why the 5 senses are important in building rapport. So what are they? The first one is gustatory. And gustatory, that's all that is. It's the ability to taste. And then there's the olfactory sense, which is the sense of smell, or your ability to smell things, which is the strongest sense of all five senses. Next is auditory, and all that is your ability to hear. And then you have visual, which is your ability to see things. And then the next thing is kinesthetic, or touching, your ability to touch. Now, all human beings take in information via the five senses. Some people say it's 1.2 to 1.4 million bits of information per second that is taken in by the five senses. Now, all that information, it either gets stored in the long-term or the short-term memory, it gets distorted, or it gets deleted. Now, most people will take one or two of the sense of touching, hearing, and seeing, and that's what they rely on to navigate through the world. Now, big shocker, most people feel comfortable with people just like themselves. Most people want to do business with people that are just like themselves. So when your customer feels like you are just like them, they are more likely to lower their wall of sales resistance and more likely to buy from you when they feel like you are just like them. Now, the reason why the five senses are so important is because your customers are going to use language that will give you a perfect idea of what senses they rely on to navigate through the world, and this is how you are going to build rapport with them in order for you to sell them a car. Have you ever had a customer come in and say, I'm here because I wanted to listen to the Harman Kardon sound system in the touring Outback. I wanted to have some music on my phone, and I wanted to get an idea of what that sounds like. So a person who comes in and says that, what dominant sense do they rely on? Auditory, hearing. So when you reply with things like, yeah, that sounds good, let me go grab one. And then while you're listening to the music, can you hear how crisp that is? I love how deep the bass is. So when you use language like that, it's going to go into your customer's subconscious mind that this person is just like me. This person understands me. Or what if you had a customer that comes in and says, hey, Victor, I'm here because I wanted to get a feel for the STI on how it performs and handles. I wanted to take that car for a drive. Now, what dominant sense is that customer relying on? Right, he's a kinesthetic person. He's a feely, touchy person. Yeah. So when going around a corner in the STI, I would say something like, and can you feel how the road just grips, how the car just grips and sticks to the road? It feels really cool, doesn't it? Yeah. Now, when you say things like that to a customer who's a kinesthetic customer, they're automatically going to think, wow, this guy gets me. This guy understands me. Third example, if a customer comes in and says, hey, I wanted to come in and take a look at the Subaru Impreza. I've been checking them out online. I've been seeing stuff new and used, and I just wanted to get an idea. I'm in the market to buy a car for my daughter. That customer is a visual person. So when you go up to the customer and you say, can you see the tiny little flakes that are in the paint? It's absolutely gorgeous. Or look at those wheels. I love how they just pop. I love the black insert against that brushed aluminum. It just makes it pop. Can you see all of the little details that they put into this car? Yeah, absolutely. And how does it look to you? Oh, it looks great. Can you see yourself driving one of these cars for the next 4 to 10 years? Oh yeah, okay. So that's the importance of language and the senses in building rapport. Next, I want to talk about feel, felt, found. Now, the way it goes is, and this is really cool for somebody who has an objection or they're not really sure about something, and let me give you an example. Let's say a customer comes in and says, hey, my brother bought an Outback and he said I should come check them out, but I don't know, I don't really like them too much because they kind of look like a station wagon. So my response would be, Mark, I totally understand. I felt the same way. And this is what I found. And then you go into the benefits of the Outback. So that's really powerful because right up front, you're letting them know, hey, I understand. It does look like a wagon. I felt the same way. So you felt just like they felt. You understand where they're coming from, why they think it looks like a wagon. But you found some really cool stuff, and that's what you want to share with them. Feel, felt, found. Very powerful. Practice it in front of the mirror. Get comfortable with it and use it. The last tip I want to leave you with for building rapport is matching and mirroring. And what do I mean by that? Basically what it is you want to match and mirror the physiology, the movement, the posture, the gestures, the language that your customers use. So let me give you an example. If your customer is sitting with their legs crossed, you would sit with your legs crossed. Now, if your customer is sitting with their arms crossed, you would sit with your arms crossed. If your customer is leaning in, you lean in. But there's a lot of other things that you can match and mirror also. So one of the cool things that you can do is match their breathing pattern. If somebody's taking deep breaths, you want to get in the same cadence or the same rhythm of their breathing and match their breathing. Now, also another good thing to look out for is if somebody's darker complected like I am, you'll notice little lines around their lips, lines around their eyes will increase because when somebody is connected or in rapport with somebody, their blood will flow through their body much more than if they weren't in rapport with you. So if you're talking to a customer who has lighter skin, then take a mental inventory when you first meet your customer, and then notice as you build rapport, you'll start to see that their cheeks get red, or you'll start to see that their neck will get red because blood is flowing more. So also keep that in the back of your mind. And when we're talking about matching and mirroring, don't go overboard with this. I would suggest that you don't even match and mirror the physiology of the movement, the gestures of the customer. So, because the last thing you would want to do is matching and mirroring your customer, and then they think, wait a minute, everything I do, this joker's doing. Every time I cross my arms, he crosses his arms. Every time I cross my legs, he crosses his legs. This guy's trying to play a trick on me. I don't trust this guy. I don't like this guy. He's trying to con me. So don't overdo it. Actually, I would recommend that you use matching and mirroring as a test to if you're in rapport or not. And I'll give you an example. If I reach for my cup of coffee and my customer reaches for their cup of coffee, or if I go and clear my throat and then a few seconds later my customer clears their throat, or if I lean back and then they lean back, that's a test of the matching and mirroring. So be very subtle, very, very subtle. And guys, all of this is going to take practice. So I appreciate you watching this video, but watch it multiple times. So the next tip that I want to leave you with is, after your needs assessment, let's say you gathered all the information, you did all the fact finding that you needed to do in order to figure out what your customer's problem is, and then you got to give it back to them just to make sure that your customer understands that you understand them. And it goes something like this. So, okay, Bob, so based on what you shared with me, you mentioned that you have a 2007 Toyota Camry and it only has 76,000 miles, and that's the car that your son Brandon is going to be taking to college, and you need to replace that car, and you want a 4-cylinder Outback with black interior, and you're already pre-approved. Is there anything else that I missed? Nope, that's it. Okay, perfect. Let's go find you that car. And it's as simple as that. So let me make sure that I understand you correctly, is the key phrase in that word track. And then when you give back, so this is where it's really important that you turn on both of your ears and you're listening with the intent of hearing what they're saying, not thinking about what you're going to say next. So when you're doing your needs assessment, you have to listen to what they're saying, so that way you can give it back to them. And that right there is huge, everybody. It's huge in the process. So you have to make sure that they understand, that you understand where they're coming from. Okay? So I'm going to leave you at that. Thank you so much for checking out my video on how to build rapport. Now, keep in mind that these techniques are usually taught in weekend courses or week-long courses, so it's a lot of information. So basically what I've done is I've taken it and I just condensed it all down and narrowed it for the automotive industry. So if you have any cool tips and tricks or techniques that you like to use to build rapport, please leave them in the comments below. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Please like, subscribe, ring the little bell so that way you get notified every time I put up a new video. Thank you so much for all the love and support, guys. I'll talk to you later. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.